and welcome. You're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the day's top stories. New RBI rule shocks millions of Indians travelling overseas every year and those with families abroad. Credit card spends included in the $250,000 annual LRS limit. Tax collected at source on foreign trips will also be hiked to 20% from the 1st of July. Country's largest bank, SBI, posts a massive 83% rise in net profits in Jan to March. Bad debts and provisions for bad debts see a steep fall. Stock down 2% on profit booking. Realty, FMCG, PSU banks drag indices down. Sensex falls 129 points, down 914 points in 3 days. Nifty down 52, hit by profit booking as traders consolidate their positions. One of the impact yet of slowdown in the Indian tech sector, Infosys slashes its variable pay to 60% in the Jan to March quarter, cites market volatility and unforeseen events in the recent quarter. Amazon announces massive investments for India, says it will pump in $12.7 billion to build its cloud infrastructure by 2030, claims the new business will create 1 lakh jobs. Swiggy's food delivery business finally turns profitable. CEO attributes turnaround to innovation and sharp execution. Gets a big shout out from rival Zomato. If you're planning international travel later this year, you'd better rejig your budget because travel and spending overseas has just got a lot more expensive. A couple of tweaks in the rules responsible for this, one announced in the budget and the other notified by the RBI just a couple of days ago. What is this hammer that's about to fall on your foreign spending? Money Today editor Tina Jain Kaushal explains.
It's the start of the peak travel season, when wealthy Indians travel abroad to visit families, for tourism, for start of a new academic seasons in colleges, adding to the usual rush of business travelers. The rush is especially heavy this year with the World Health Organization ending the global COVID emergency. According to some estimates, travel bookings are up 30 to 40% this season. The bad news, starting 1st of July, every international ticket booked for every foreign tour package booked, you will have to also pay a tax of 20%. As per a tweak announced in the union budget, tax collected at source on foreign remittances will rise to 20% on the total transaction amount from the current 5%. This means on an air ticket to London from New Delhi, which costs around 40,000 rupees, you will have to pay a tax of 8,000 rupees instead of 2,000 rupees you are paying now. The amount of tax collected will be adjusted in your total tax outgo when you file your return. You may also be eligible for a refund. But what this move has done is make your travel more expensive at the outset. And it's not just air tickets, but your hotel stay, the restaurant bill you pay in the foreign currency, your spend on taxis, basically your entire forex spend will be taxed at 20%. But this is not the only big blow for foreign travelers. In a crucial move, the Reserve Bank of India has amended rules governing the annual forex spend by Indians. All international credit card spends outside India have been brought under the Liberalized Remittance Scheme or the LRS. This means that spending on international credit cards will immediately attract a 5% tax collected at source, which will increase to 20% from July. It will also set a spending limit of $250,000 a year. For this, the 20-year-old Rule 7 of FEMA has been scrapped. While the move will discourage exorbitant personal spending by high net worth individuals on foreign trips, it will also help authorities track high-value overseas transactions and temper forex outgo. This comes even as there has been a huge spike in forex spending in overseas travel. Indians spent $12.5 billion on overseas travel between April to February of 2022 to 23, a rise of 104% compared to the same period of the last year. With Tina Jain Kaushal, Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
There are several questions which travellers and those with businesses or families outside India are asking. Business Today TV spoke to Adil Shetty, CEO of BankBazaar.com, to understand better some of the answers. Listen in.
When you're swiping today, you get 3 line items, the item cost in US dollars, the forex charge of 2% and the GST on the forex. You might get a 4th line right now, which is a 20% TCS line when you get your credit card bill. Let's wait for clarity to emerge, because how this is going to get operational by July 1st, all the industry experts are working on it right now, and clarity will emerge in the next 2 weeks. This should not impact remittances for kids' education, because there's an exemption for remittance under the category heads education and medical expenses. So what you pay for your kids' education, right, should be exempt from this change. Specific approval is required if you exceed the LRS cap of $2.5 lakh. So under $2.5 lakh, you make the spend and you comply with the TCS requirement and whatever filing requirement is there. Above $2.5 lakh, you have to get prior approval before you even initiate it. So a separate approval is required above the cap. Clearly, right, the TCS will be paid by you. That there is absolutely no doubt, because you can actually claim this TCS tax collected benefit when you file your income tax. So it's not like the money is gone away and you're not going to get it. It means the money has been deposited in your name, similar to how when you get your salary, your TDS is deducted and deposited in your name. So you can claim that back, right, when you file your income tax. But that happens once a year. So the money is gone until then. So we do expect so, right? Because in addition to using your credit card when you spend abroad, you typically also load a forex card. So we expect that a similar kind of rule, which affects your credit card spend, and having another line in your entry saying TCS, that something similar might happen to forex card. But this is hot off, the government notification, and the entire industry is now trying to understand how this is going to be operationalized. For anyone who's traveling post July 1st, just give it a couple of weeks, because I think clarity will start emerging and you'll start receiving communication from your credit card company exactly telling you, and your forex company exactly telling you how this is going to work.
The Finance Ministry issued a clarification this evening on the changes in LRS. According to the ministry, there are no changes for remittances made for medical and education purposes. The threshold for both remains at 7 lakh rupees a year, with the tax collected at source unchanged at 5%. The ministry also made it clear that LRS does not cover business visits of an employee, as those expenses are treated as residual current account transactions. My colleague and the editor of Money Today, Tina Jain Kaushal, also spoke to Mohit Kabra, CFO of Make My Trip, about the impact of the RBI move on tourists planning a holiday abroad this summer.
Foreign travel is to get expensive from July. This is because tax collected at source is set to jump from 5 to 20%. Not only foreign packages, but 20% TCS rule will also apply to credit cards on international transactions. Tell us, how much extra will travelers be paying now?
Thanks for having me. Looks like, with the new, rules coming in, travelers will have to initially fork out about 20% extra while making their travel bookings. Although this would kind of, be reflected as credit in their tax returns in the Form 26AS, so it can be claimed back. So it's more an upfront kind of paying out of an additional amount but not necessarily an additional cost.
Okay, you said that it can be claimed back, but do you see a dip in travel because of this move?
See, we had seen about 5% TCS getting levied a few years back, and we had seen a little bit of a dip coming through because of that, because as this kind of a upfront charge comes in, for quite a few travelers, it becomes an issue in terms of the total amount to be forked out. So that kind of creates a dampening effect. And the other thing is, just in case if there is a kind of a gap in terms of how this TCS is collected by the various kind of players operating in the market, then it could also kind of result in shifting of bookings from one player to the other, depending upon where customer sees a better pricing. So that's the reason that we have seen a significant amount of loss of business from Indian kind of travel agents to probably the overseas travel agents.
Okay, very interesting, Mohit, as you are saying because of this transition, but today we have heard about 20% TCS also applied to credit cards now. So can you explain us what does it mean for foreign travelers? Can you explain its implications now?
Sure. This was one of the kind of requests that we had made out, saying that there used to be a rule under which FEMA, LRS kind of rules were not applied on international credit cards, and that was kind of providing an escape route on various bookings as far as the TCS levy is concerned. Now that the new rule has come in, wherein this particular aspect has been omitted, TCS will be applicable irrespective of how the customer makes the payment, whether it is on their debit cards or on their credit cards, and therefore it will be a consistent levy irrespective of the manner in which the customer is making the payment. So I think it really helps, because until now, particularly when it comes to a lot of the global OTAs, customers used to be making their payments on them via international credit cards, and therefore the TCS collection was kind of escaping attention. This will now be brought under the net. So it's been a long pressing demand from the Indian OTA industry, and it's good to see that this has been addressed.
So you are saying now there will be no difference whether I book my travel from domestic travel agent or through global travel agent. I will be paying 20% TCS on all upfront.
Yes, there's a slight difference over there, and that is what is kind of bothering us when it comes to booking with the domestic travel agent. So if you book on a domestic travel agent, the domestic travel agent has to collect the TCS right upfront because it's an INR transaction. Whereas if the customer books it on a global travel agent, then most likely, because it's a forex transaction, he has to pay only the initial amount, and the TCS levy happens subsequently by his AD bank. So therefore, the customer sees a little bit of a price difference. Say for instance, if you're booking a $100 equivalent kind of a overseas travel service, the customer would see an overall amount of $120 being collected by the domestic travel agent if he's booking on them, versus seeing only $100 being collected when he's booking with a global travel agent, because the remaining $20 would be subsequently collected by his credit card issuing bank. So it's just that with the upfront, it creates a little bit of a difference, when it kind of comes to book on Indian travel agents versus the overseas travel agents. So. Okay. Just hoping that if the RBI can come out with some clarification, so that this upfront differentiation between the merchants, whether they are India-based or overseas service providers, this can be avoided, because otherwise this can lead to shift of business from the Indian travel agents to the overseas travel agents.
Just how to book smartly to save better now.
Book now.
Before July 1st.
Yeah, although like I said, it's not really an additional charge, it's just a cash flow issue. I think it's important to educate the customers that it's going to come in as a credit almost kind of immediately in their respective quarterly returns, or on the 26 pages platform they can see the credit coming in, and they can avail that credit, and they can accordingly kind of adjust it against their advance tax payments, and therefore it is not really an additional cost, it's just an upfront amount to be paid, which can be recovered via the tax credit.
Markets today extended their weakness for a third session now, selling in PSU banks, FMCG and realty stocks. The expiry of weekly derivative contracts also added to selling pressure today. The Sensex was down over 100 points, losing 900 points now in 3 sessions, and the Nifty was down over 50 points today as well. On the upside in trade, Bajaj Finance, Bharti Airtel, Kotak Mahindra Bank, ICICI Bank and HCL Tech stood out. And on the downside, the pressure really coming in from the likes of Divi's Labs, Adani Ports, ITC, SBI and Power Grid. State Bank of India exceeded street expectations with results earlier today. The country's largest bank saw net profit climb 83% on year to 16,690 crore rupees. That's for the March quarter. Revenues up 30% on year to exceed the 1 lakh crore rupee mark. The bank declared a dividend of 11.3 rupees for financial year 23. SBI also reported a 44 basis point improvement in domestic net margin to 3.84%. Its net NPA ratio also improved to 0.67% from 0.77% a quarter ago.
In the past also I had given the number around 12 to 14% kind of a growth, which we are quite hopeful to see. And of course, this is all based on what we are observing in the economy and the kind of steps which are being taken by the government as well as the initiatives being taken by the corporate. So this is something, to my mind, this is likely to be a reality. Now, your second question is which sectors? Retail will continue to grow. Apart from that, SME also offers the opportunity, and even in the large corporates, we expect to see traction into the infrastructure related activity, which would be road, which would also be, when it comes to renewable, is holding a huge potential, and we are seeing very good traction in the renewable, right from EVs to batteries to the solar panels to solar engines, solar cells. So all these are the sectors which will continue to offer a decent opportunity for us to grow.
Sterlite Technologies has projected revenue growth of 10 to 12% this year. In a conversation with Siddharth Zarabi, managing editor of BTTV, Ankit Agarwal, the MD, revealed an order book of 11,000 crore rupees and also spoke of the company's recent financial performance.
In terms of the geographical contribution of your revenues, take our viewers through how much of your business and profitability accrues from overseas operation and India. And in India, for example, fiber rollouts with Indian operators, you have orders worth 1,000 crore, for example.
Yes, absolutely. I think, and this is in line with the strategy of the company to continue to be global in our optical business in particular. So today where we are is broadly about 75–80% of our revenue comes from the optical business, and balance comes from our services business, and a small portion is now starting to emerge from our IT services business. So in that context, our optical business, which is the largest business, a good portion, probably north of 80% of our revenue, comes from outside of India, primarily from Europe and North America. So this is where we also shared in our result that over the span of last few quarters, we've been able to go very significantly from over 14% of our revenue coming from North America to almost 35–38% of our revenue coming from North America. So we're very, very proud of that growth that's happened. In India as well, that what you touched upon, we continue to be very positive about the deployment of 5G in India. I think we have somewhere between 50–60 million 5G users currently, and I think our own view is we will get to almost 200–250 million subscribers in the next 2 to 3 years. So a significant amount of network deployment, network expansion, and on the back of that, fiberization will happen.
Can you take us through the order book that you have, the overall order book, and also what are your what is the revenue guidance for the current fiscal?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in line with strong order book, particularly that we have seen in our optical business, to some extent in services, and as we shared through the course of last year, we have about 650 crores now of order book in our IT services business. So we've been able to continue to secure strong orders across North America, Europe, and also in Middle East and in few pockets. So overall, our open order book is north of 11,000 crores. And so that's something we'll continue to focus on our pipeline. Within that, we're always focused on our large key accounts to really make sure that we continue to provide new innovations and solutions for them. I think specifically, in terms of our current visibility, what we do see is that we'll be somewhere in the range of 10 to 12% top line revenue growth for the current year. And we are looking actively to generate cash, and from that then look to reduce our debt and overall look at debt to equity, net debt to EBITDA of about 2.5 times.
And all of this growth, what kind of investment and capex is it going to require?
So overall, in line with our previous guidance, we've talked about increasing our optical fiber cable capacity from about 33 million to 42 million cable kilometers. That we believe should get completed by H1 of current year, which is largely going to be our cable expansions in the US and in pockets in Italy and India. In addition to that, we've also talked about some investments required to scale up our interconnect business. So that's something that we're quite positive about as a growth opportunity for the company.
Paytm has launched a credit card in collaboration with SBI Cards and NCPI. The RuPay card offers exclusive privileges to customers worth up to 75,000 rupees with a complimentary Paytm First membership that also includes offers for OTT platforms and flight ticket discounts through the Paytm app. Cardholders will also receive a 2% cashback on all purchases on the app and a 1% cashback on spends elsewhere.
दो मार्केट शेयर हो जाते हैं पेमेंट में. हाउ मेनी पीपल यूज आवर कंज्यूमर ऐप एंड हाउ मेनी पीपल यूज आवर मर्चेंट सर्विसेज. Merchant services, we dominate in this country. More number of merchant take payment using Paytm technology than any other, if you will. On issuing side, I think we've stayed focused on select customer base, and we are continuously growing. Our public listed company होने का advantage है. You're seeing our numbers quarter on quarter and user on user. We are committed to grow. What we are not chasing is a sort of vanity number, if you will. What we are chasing is a good customer base, and we are focused on monetization as you've seen it. So we are consciously bothering about which kind of customers to acquire, which means that market share wise it may not be material, but on a revenue market share it is significantly material.
Amazon has announced massive investment plans for India. The Jeff Bezos-owned company has said it will invest $12.7 billion or 1,50,000 crore rupees by 2030. The investment will be used to build its cloud infrastructure in India and will support over 100,000 full-time jobs annually. The company has already invested about $6.5 billion in India in the e-commerce sector. For more on this, we're joined by our correspondent Akanksha Chaturvedi.
Well, that's right. Amazon will be investing around $12.7 billion in India's cloud infrastructure. This is roughly around 1 lakh crore rupees. And this would be done by 2030. And this is not the first time that the company would be investing money in India's cloud infrastructure. The company has in fact invested around $3.7 billion between 2016 to 2022 in India's cloud infrastructure. They also believe that this would be creating a lot many jobs in India. To be exact, a little over 1,30,000 jobs every year. And these would be in maintenance, this would be in construction, in telecommunications, and a lot many sectors. What's also worth noting that Indian IT companies and Indian tech companies would also benefit from this infrastructure that would be built by Amazon in India.
All right, that's how we leave it on the show tonight. Thanks so much for watching.